The silent void, the galaxy was calm. Trade ships moved along the bright lanes of stars, and the Empire believed nothing could challenge its power. From the outer rims to the core worlds, the Empire's banners waved proudly. The lords of the galaxy had grown used to peace that was built on fear. They thought no new enemy could rise against them. But far away, beyond the mapped charts, a whisper came through the void. It was faint at first, a ripple of strange energy, picked up by a forgotten sensor station. The station's crew laughed at the reading, calling it a ghost signal. They believed it was nothing more than static from deep space storms. Hours later, the signal returned, stronger, sharper, like the pulse of a beating heart in the darkness. The technicians grew uneasy. One officer muttered that it did not match any known ship or weapon in the Empire's records. The commander silenced him, saying no unknown power could exist this close to the Empire. Still, a small fear began to spread in the room. The report reached the local governor. He was a proud alien noble who had long served the Empire. He read the words, his eyes narrowing. He remembered old tales, rumors that once long ago there was a race cast out of the council chambers, a race that refused to kneel, a race whispered about only in cautionary stories. The humans. The governor dismissed the thought. He told his staff that humans were gone, destroyed or forgotten in the ancient wars. Yet as the signal grew stronger with each passing hour, even he began to feel the weight of those old warnings. The Empire's military sent patrol ships to investigate. The first squadron moved into the void, their scanners searching the darkness. At first, they found nothing but silence. The commander of the squadron laughed through the comms, calling the report a waste of time. Then, in the last second before his voice cut off, a chilling sound came through. A low hum, deep and endless, like the growl of some great beast. The patrol ships vanished. Not a single distress beacon remained. In the Empire's central command halls, alarms blared. Admirals shouted over each other, demanding to know what could erase 10 ships without leaving debris. The Emperor's advisors whispered in fear. Could this be the return of the exiled race? The Emperor, seated on his throne of gold and steel, listened to the reports. His voice was calm but cold. He told his council that no force could ever threaten the Empire. He ordered more fleets to search the void. He declared that the Empire would crush whatever ghost dared to challenge their rule. But in the silence of space, something enormous drifted. It was not a ghost nor a storm, it was a ship. Its black hull absorbed the light of the stars. Its shape was monstrous, ancient yet alive with hidden power. It did not broadcast any Empire code. It did not answer any calls. It simply waited, watching on board the Dreadnought. A human captain stood in silence. His face was calm, his eyes hard. For centuries, humanity had been quiet, pushed aside, exiled to forgotten corners of the galaxy. Now they had returned, not with words, but with steel. The Dreadnought's engines, pulsed with power unseen in the galaxy for 1,000 years. The captain whispered to his crew, "They will come. They will test us. And then they will remember who we are." His words carried no anger, only certainty. Around him, the human crew nodded. They had trained for this day. They had carried the memory of humiliation and exile through generations. Now the galaxy would feel their presence again. Back in the Empire's command stations, panic began to grow. The mysterious readings showed an energy signature larger than anything ever recorded. One admiral shouted that it was impossible. No single ship could carry that much power. Another argued that it must be a hidden Empire project. But deep down, even they began to suspect the truth. Whispers spread across the outer colonies. Merchants spoke of a shadow moving between the stars. Soldiers told tales of a ship that could swallow fleets whole. And in the quietest corners of the galaxy, the name long buried began to surface again. Humans, the void was no longer silent. It carried with it the weight of something unseen, something unstoppable. The Empire trembled but did not yet understand why. They had always believed themselves untouchable. But in the shadows of space, humanity's dreadnought had arrived, and it would not leave until the galaxy remembered Earth. Whispers of an ancient power. The Empire tried to calm its people. Officials broadcast messages of strength, saying the void signal was nothing but natural distortion. They told the colonies to trust in the Empire's fleets. They said no shadow could stand against their power. But in quiet rooms behind closed doors, the truth spread like wildfire. Across the council chambers, alien voices whispered. Some remembered fragments of old records, warnings carved in stone about a race that fought like fire and would never yield. A race called human. Long ago they were cast out, branded as dangerous, pushed beyond the safe lanes of the galaxy. Yet even in exile, they had left scars in memory. Merchants in the border systems told each other of lost patrols. Traders who had flown too close to the strange energy claimed their scanners burned out instantly. One pilot swore he saw the silhouette of a black ship larger than a city. No one believed him at first, but when his hair turned white overnight, fear silenced the laughter. The Empire's admirals demanded answers. Their fleets had been reduced to whispers of static. No wreckage, no distress beacons, only silence. It was as if the void itself had swallowed them whole. The Emperor himself listened from his throne, his claws gripping the armrests. His pride kept him steady, but his heart pounded in unease. Far from the throne, in a secret archive buried beneath the Empire's capital, a scholar uncovered ancient records. The writings spoke of the humans, creatures born on a world of storms and endless trials. They were described as stubborn, reckless, and impossible to break. The last line of the scroll made the scholar tremble. If ever their black ships rise again, the galaxy will remember fear. The scholar tried to send a warning to the council, but his message was intercepted. The Empire did not want panic. Yet the whispers grew louder with each passing day. Rumors reached the outer colonies. Families packed their ships, fleeing the borders. Soldiers muttered that no Empire fleet should enter the void again. Meanwhile, inside the human dreadnought, the crew remained silent and focused. Their ship floated like a predator waiting for prey. The captain stood with hands behind his back, his eyes fixed on the void as if he could already see the Empire's fleets gathering. One officer approached, his voice low. They will come soon. The captain only nodded. Let them. Back in the Empire, the council gathered in secret. Voices clashed. Some demanded war, others whispered of retreat. An elder counselor raised his voice above the chaos. He remembered the exile. He remembered. The last time humans stood in the chambers, they had warned the galaxy, do not chain us, do not silence us, or one day we will return. That warning had been ignored, and now it felt like prophecy. The Emperor struck his staff on the floor. His voice thundered, there is no prophecy, there is only empire. We will face this shadow and destroy it. His words echoed with power, but even his generals did not believe. They had seen the void. They had seen fleets vanish without a scream. The first reinforcements were sent. 10 more ships armed with the strongest weapons the Empire had. They moved carefully into the dark sector. Their scanners lit up, searching. For long minutes there was only silence. Then the shadow appeared. It was not a planet, not a station, but a ship. A dreadnought larger than anything their eyes had ever known. The ship did not fire, it only drifted, its engines pulsing with slow, steady power. The Empire commander ordered all weapons ready. His voice shook, though he tried to hide it. Then, a signal filled the comms. A voice, human, cold and steady. This is our space now, leave. The words were simple, but they carried weight heavier than any weapon. The Empire ships froze. None dared fire first. The commander tried to laugh, it off, calling the voice a trick, but his laugh was hollow. His crew stared at the massive shadow outside their windows. When the signal ended, the dreadnought turned slowly, not fleeing, not hiding, but showing itself fully. Its hull shimmered with old scars, marks of wars fought long before the Empire's rise. Its weapons glowed faintly, promising destruction. Beyond imagination, the Empire ships began to retreat. One by one they turned away, not out of order, but out of fear. Their reports reached the capital within hours, and though the Emperor tried to crush the panic, the whispers had already spread. The galaxy now remembered the old stories. The exiled race had returned. Their dreadnought had risen from the void. and for the first time in centuries, the Empire trembled. First contact of fear. The Empire could not hide the truth anymore. Too many fleets had gone silent, too many whispers carried through the stars. Merchants avoided the border routes, soldiers refused to travel near the void, colonies demanded protection, but none came. Everywhere across the Empire, one name spread in low voices. Humans, the Emperor, furious at the fear spreading through his domain, summoned his war council. His generals stood before him, each one proud yet pale with worry. They had seen the reports, they had read the signals, they knew the shadow was real. The Emperor slammed his staff. Enough. No ship, no phantom can challenge the Empire. We will crush this intruder and erase its name from history. A grand fleet was assembled. Not 10 ships, not 20, but 50 warships armed with the deadliest weapons the Empire could build. Their hulls gleamed like knives. Their engines roared like storms. The fleet's commander, Admiral Xylar, swore he would bring back the wreck of the shadow ship as proof of victory. His soldiers cheered, but in their hearts, doubt lingered. The fleet entered the void. Their scanners burned with static. Their comms hissed with broken whispers. And then they saw it. The Dreadnought, silent, unmoving, a giant that made their ships look like insects. Its hull absorbed light, its size stretched. Farther than any Empire vessel, it did not advance, it only waited, as if daring them to come closer. Target the intruder, Admiral Xylar commanded. His voice was steady, but his claws trembled on the console. Weapons locked on, beams charged, missiles armed. On his signal, the fleet unleashed its fury. Bright energy tore through space, explosions lit the void. But when the light faded, the Dreadnought still remained untouched. Its shields absorbed the storm as if it were nothing more than rain. A chill ran through every Empire soldier. Their strongest weapons had done nothing. In the silence that followed, a voice filled every ship. It was calm, human, and merciless. You should not have come. The Dreadnought's weapons came alive. Energy flared across its hull. One beam cut through 3 battleships in an instant. Another blast erased a cruiser before it could even scream. The Empire fleet broke formation. Panic spread as ships collided, fleeing in every direction. Admiral Xylar shouted for order. He demanded his soldiers fight, but his words were drowned by the screams of dying crews. One by one, his ships were erased from existence, their wreckage swallowed by the black. It was not a battle, it was an execution. The Dreadnought did not chase, it did not roar, it struck with precision. Every shot was final, every strike absolute. Within minutes, the Empire's grand fleet was nothing but fragments. Only a handful of ships survived. Limping away into the darkness on board the Dreadnought, the human captain stood silently, his eyes cold, his crew efficient. They had not cheered, they had not celebrated. To them, this was not victory, it was necessity. They will send more, the captain whispered, but now they know fear. His crew nodded, each one carrying the weight of their ancestors' exile, each one sworn to remind the galaxy of humanity's strength. Back in the Empire's capital, the survivors returned, their ships scarred, their voices broken. They told stories of weapons that could not be stopped, of beams that split fleets apart, of a voice that declared the Empire had no power here. Their words spread like fire through every world. The Emperor listened in rage, his claws scraped the arms of his throne. He declared the survivors cowards. He swore the Empire would build stronger fleets, greater weapons. He told his people that the shadow would be crushed. Yet even as he spoke, his advisors exchanged fearful glances. They had seen the data. They had heard the human voice. The Empire had met something far beyond its reach. In taverns, in markets, in hidden corners of colonies, the whispers grew. Some spoke of an ancient prophecy. Others said the humans had been waiting, preparing for centuries, and everywhere the same words echoed. The Empire trembles. The void was no longer empty. It carried the roar of destruction. The shadow was no longer a rumor. It was a reality. The Dreadnought had made its first move, and the galaxy understood. This was only the beginning. The Emperor's rage. The Empire had never faced shame like this. Whole fleets erased in minutes, commanders broken, soldiers whispering of shadows and voices in the void. The news spread faster than fire. The great empire that once ruled every corner of the galaxy now trembled in silence. The Emperor stood before his court. His golden armor gleamed. His crown of iron weighed heavy on his head. His voice shook the chamber. Cowards, all of you. Do you think a single ghost ship can bring down my empire? Do you think I will allow fear to spread among my people? His words thundered across the hall, but none dared answer. Reports lay on his throne. Black ink stained with death counts. 50 ships gone, thousands of lives lost. The Empire's strongest fleet reduced to dust. His advisors begged him to reconsider. They spoke of building defenses, of seeking peace. But the Emperor's eyes burned with rage. He would not bow to shadows, he would not kneel to humans. He ordered the construction of more warships, weapons stronger than ever before. Factories roared day and night. Engineers were whipped to work without rest. The Emperor's command was simple. Build me fire that will burn the intruder from the stars. His generals nodded, but their hearts were filled with doubt. In the council chambers, fear was louder than obedience. Some counselors whispered of retreat. Others suggested contacting the humans for peace, but every time the word peace was spoken, the Emperor silenced it with fury. There will be no peace with ghosts. There will be no surrender. We are the Empire, and the galaxy bows to us. Meanwhile, the Dreadnought still drifted in silence. The humans made no attempt to invade. They did not conquer worlds. They did not demand tribute. They simply remained, a silent shadow in the void. That silence was worse than any attack. It left the Empire waiting, trembling, never knowing when the storm would strike again. One night, the Emperor gathered his most loyal generals in a secret chamber. He stared at the star maps glowing above the table. The void pulsed with red, marking the Dreadnought's last known location. His voice dropped low, filled with hatred. This is not war, this is insult. They dare humiliate me. They dare humiliate the Empire. I will erase their world. I will burn Earth itself until its ashes scatter across the stars. The generals froze. None dared to speak. To strike at Earth was madness. The humans had already shown power beyond understanding. But the Emperor's pride was unshaken. He demanded a fleet greater than any before. 100 ships, armed with the Empire's deadliest weapons. We will drown their shadow in fire, he declared. Back in the colonies, soldiers heard whispers of the Emperor's plan. Instead of pride, fear grew stronger. Many remembered the survivors' stories, the Dreadnought's shields that drank fire, the voice that froze the heart. Some soldiers began to desert, fleeing into hidden corners of space. Merchants hid their ships, refusing to serve the fleets. Even loyal citizens began to ask, what if the humans cannot be defeated? Inside the Dreadnought, the human captain stood on the bridge, his eyes calm, his hands folded behind his back. Reports of the Empire's rage reached him. His crew waited for orders. One young officer finally asked, "Will they attack Earth, Captain?" The captain's voice was steady. "If they try, we will show them what Earth truly is." The Dreadnought's engines hummed louder, as if agreeing with him. The Emperor's fury only grew. Every day he stood before his people, promising victory, promising fire, but deep in his palace he sat alone, staring into the dark skies. In his dreams he saw the Dreadnought, endless and silent. He woke with sweat on his skin and anger in his heart. He told himself it was only a dream, but fear gnawed at him like a parasite. At last the Empire's great fleet was ready. 100 ships, each armed to the teeth, their weapons burned bright across the void. The Emperor himself gave the command. His voice echoed across the galaxy. Today we erase the shadow. Today we remind the stars who rules them. The fleets roared forward, engines blazing. But in the depths of the void, the Dreadnought stirred. Its weapons lit the dark like suns. Its hull glowed with power that no alien mind could comprehend. The humans did not run. They did not hide. They waited. For the humans knew the Emperor's rage would only bring him closer to ruin. And so the stage was set. The Empire's pride against humanity's silence. The galaxy held its breath, waiting for the storm that was about to break. the message of humanity. The Empire's grand fleet moved like a storm across the stars, 100 ships, weapons burning bright, engines howling with fury. The Emperor watched from his throne, his eyes cold, his heart filled with rage. He believed. This time the humans would fall. This time the shadow would be broken. But in the void, the Dreadnought waited. Its black hull shimmered faintly as if alive. Its silence was heavier than any roar. The human crew stood ready. They did not cheer. They did not panic. They only waited for the signal. The captain raised his hand and whispered, "Let them come." The Empire fleet opened fire. Missiles streaked across space. Energy beams split the dark. Explosions filled the void. For a moment the stars themselves seemed to vanish in the fire. But when the light faded, the Dreadnought still stood untouched. Its shields glowed faintly, calm and steady. The Empire's most powerful strike had done nothing. Fear tore through the enemy ranks. Some ships tried to retreat, but the Dreadnought's weapons awoke. One blast cut through 5 cruisers at once. Another beam carved across the fleet like a blade through glass. Empire commanders screamed orders, but nothing worked. Their voices drowned in chaos. Then, in the middle of the battle, the human captain gave a command no one expected. "Transmit," he said. A signal pulsed from the Dreadnought, not just to the Empire fleet, but across the entire galaxy. It was not a code, not a weapon, but a voice, human, steady and unshaken. "This is humanity," the voice said. "We warned you once, you banished us, you laughed at us, you called us weak. Now you will remember." Every world in the Empire heard the words, from mining colonies to glittering palace cities. Even distant neutral worlds caught the signal. Across the stars, people froze, listening. "We do not come to conquer," the voice continued. "We do not come to rule, but know this. No hand will touch Earth again. No fleet will threaten our people. We will stand, and the galaxy will tremble before us if it must." The message echoed like thunder across the stars. For the first time in centuries, the forgotten name of Earth returned to every tongue. Children whispered it with awe. Soldiers muttered it with fear. Leaders shook in silence. In the Empire, fleet panic reached its peak. The Dreadnought tore through their lines. Ships fell one by one. The survivors fled, scattering like leaves in the wind. Admiral Xylar tried to hold formation, but even he was forced to retreat. His voice broke as he shouted, fall back, we cannot fight this." On the throne world, the Emperor listened to the message with clenched fists. His advisors shifted nervously. Some dared to whisper that peace should be offered. Others trembled and said the war was already lost. The Emperor roared with fury, "Never, never will we bow to humans." His voice shook the hall, but even his own guards looked uneasy. Meanwhile, neutral worlds began to speak. Some declared they would no longer serve the Empire. Some even sent quiet messages toward the void. Messages of respect, messages of fear. The galaxy was beginning to shift. Inside the Dreadnought, the human crew stood tall. They had carried their ancestors' pain for generations. They had been mocked, exiled, forgotten, but now their voice had reached every corner of the galaxy. The captain lowered his hand and said quietly, "They will not forget again." The battle ended, not with victory cries, but with silence. The Empire's greatest fleet lay in ruins, wreckage drifting cold in the void. Survivors limped away, carrying tales of a ship that could not be destroyed, of humans who spoke like kings of old. The message of humanity spread faster than any weapon. It could not be silenced. It could not be erased. The galaxy now knew. The exiled race had returned, stronger than ever, and while the Empire burned with rage and shame, the rest of the stars whispered the truth. The humans are back, the Empire shaken. The Emperor's throne still stood tall, but the Empire around him was crumbling. The Dreadnought had not invaded worlds. It had not landed troops. It had not claimed planets. Yet its silence weighed heavier than any invasion. Every day, the galaxy spoke louder, and every whisper broke. The Empire further across the outer colonies, fear ruled. Governors who once bowed proudly to the Empire now looked to the stars with trembling eyes. Some declared independence overnight, raising their own banners. Others swore quiet loyalty to the humans, believing the Dreadnought would protect them. If the Empire could not, allies of the Empire began to retreat. Old treaties were broken. Longtime partners withdrew their fleets. Merchants refused to send supplies. Entire sectors went dark, choosing silence over obedience. The Emperor's orders carried less power with every passing hour. His voice thundered from the palace, but his words no longer reached the people. The Empire's military roared louder, trying to show strength, but the soldiers themselves had lost their will. Survivors of the Dreadnought's wrath whispered to new recruits, "It cannot be defeated. It drinks fire, it swallows fleets. It speaks with a human voice that freezes your blood." Young soldiers listened, and some deserted before their first battle. Others obeyed, but their hands shook when they touched the controls. In marketplaces across the galaxy, the story of humanity spread like legend. Artists carved images of a black ship glowing in the stars. Children played games where they pretended to be humans defeating Empire fleets. Old priests spoke of prophecy, saying the humans had risen from exile to bring balance to the galaxy. For the first time in living memory, people looked at the Empire not with respect but with doubt. Inside the palace, the Emperor's rage grew unbearable. He struck down advisors who dared speak of peace. He silenced generals who suggested retreat. His pride would not break, but his empire already was. Even his guards whispered when his back was turned. Even his servants looked at him with hidden fear. Meanwhile, the Dreadnought moved again. Its engines lit up the void, slow and steady. Each step it took across the stars made whole sectors tremble. Colonies abandoned their cities, fleets abandoned their posts. It did not fire, it did not destroy, yet its presence hollowed the Empire like a blade at the throat. On board the Dreadnought, the human captain stood at the viewing deck, his crew silent at his side. The stars stretched endless before them. One officer asked, "Why do we not strike the capital now, Captain?" The captain's eyes did not leave the stars. His voice was calm. "Because fear breaks faster than fire, they will destroy themselves." The Empire's council split apart. Some demanded the Emperor beg for peace. Others swore humanity must be destroyed at all costs. Their voices clashed, their unity shattered. In the end, no decision was made, only anger, only silence. Whispers reached neutral worlds. Some began sending secret offerings to the Dreadnought, crates of resources drifting into the void as signs of respect. Humanity did not respond, but the message was clear. The galaxy itself was shifting its loyalty. The Emperor tried one last show of power. He ordered executions broadcast across the stars. He punished governors who spoke of peace. He burned colonies that whispered the name human, but his cruelty only deepened the cracks. More systems fled, more soldiers deserted. His own empire was betraying him. In the deep of the night, the Emperor sat alone in his throne room, his crown heavy on his head, his hands shaking. He saw visions of the Dreadnought in his dreams, always silent, always watching. He woke with fear clinging to his skin. He whispered to himself that the Empire still ruled, but outside his palace walls no one believed it anymore. The Dreadnought's silence was louder than his rage. Humanity had spoken once, and that was enough. The galaxy did not forget. The Empire was shaken, and all who lived beneath its rule knew the truth. The humans had returned, and nothing would ever be the same again. Humanity's return. The Empire's capital world gleamed like a jewel in the center of the galaxy. Its towers reached the skies, its fleets circled above. Its people once believed it untouchable, but now every eye looked to the stars with dread. The shadow had come. The Dreadnought drifted into the system, slow, unstoppable. Its black hull swallowed the light of suns. Its weapons glowed faintly, promising ruin. Entire defense fleets rushed forward, but not one dared fire. The stories of broken armadas were fresh in their minds. They could only watch, trembling on the palace balcony. The Emperor stood in golden armor. His voice boomed across the city. "Do not fear, this shadow is nothing. The Empire still rules. Humanity is weak. We will crush them." His words carried across the airwaves. But even as he spoke, his people's eyes betrayed him. They no longer believed. The Dreadnought came closer. Its presence filled every sensor, every screen. The people of the capital gathered in silence, staring at the black titan in the sky. Then, without warning, a signal cut through the Empire's broadcasts. Every voice, every channel, every system fell silent, and a single human voice spoke. "This is humanity," the voice said, steady, unshaken. "You cast us out. You called us dangerous. You thought we would vanish, but we endured, we waited. And now we return, not as your prey, but as your equals." The words echoed across the capital, across the Empire, across the entire galaxy. Children clutched their parents, soldiers froze at their posts. Even the Emperor himself trembled. The voice continued, "We do not seek your throne. We do not seek your crowns. But hear this. Never again will you raise a hand against Earth. Never again will you call us weak. Humanity stands, and the galaxy will remember." In the council chambers, silence followed. No one spoke. No one argued. The truth was clear. The Empire could not stop this ship, this people, this return. The Emperor roared in anger. He shouted for his fleets to attack, but not one ship moved. His admirals lowered their eyes. His soldiers refused to fire. Fear had broken obedience, and the Dreadnought hovered above his world like judgment itself. On board the Dreadnought, the human captain stood at the viewing deck, his crew silent around him. He looked upon the shining capital of the Empire, the very heart of the power that had once exiled his ancestors. His voice was calm. "They will not forget again." The Dreadnought did not fire. It did not destroy. It simply turned, its engines flaring. It left the capital behind, leaving only silence. But that silence was heavier than any bombardment. For in that silence, the Empire understood. They had been spared, not defeated, and that truth was worse than ruin. All across the galaxy, people spoke the same words. The humans are back. Some spoke them with fear, others with awe, but none denied them. Humanity's name was restored, and their power undeniable. The Emperor sank into his throne, his crown heavy, his rage burning but his pride broken. He had roared of power, but his fleets refused to fight. He had promised victory, but silence answered him. He realized in that moment that his empire had already begun to crumble. The Dreadnought disappeared into the stars, vanishing as quietly as it had come. But its message remained carved into every heart. Humanity had returned, stronger than ever. The galaxy would never be the same again. And so the story closed. Not with fire, but with fear. Not with conquest, but with respect. The Empire trembled, the galaxy whispered, and Earth's name rose once more among the stars. Humanity had endured. Humanity had returned. Humanity would never be forgotten again.